Alright you guys, well today I have for you this 2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. Take you on a little walk around here. It is one of the more upper trims. It does have this cool bumper with these red tow hooks on the front. Has a lot of like the red decals and the red accents. Keep going around the back here. It's like pretty boxy styling, as you can see. Got the big tire on the back. That's kind of interesting. Your backup camera is right here. Check out the cargo area. So you open this part first and just lift the glass up. And here's your cargo area. It's pretty spacious. You do have this roll cage that kind of intrudes a little bit, but it's not a big deal. You also get a 12-volt outlet right here. And you do get a little storage area under the floor. It's kind of interesting. If you remove the doors, this is where you can put all the bolts and everything like that. You also get an Alpine sound system. There's like the subwoofer right there. You also get a little plaque right here. It shows how much water you can drive in. Shows like your wheelbase, all that stuff. That's kind of interesting. Built in Toledo, Ohio. But we will close this rear area up here. It's pretty easy to do. It's pretty fun actually. I kind of like this. But as you can see, you get another tow hook right there under the bumper. You also get a trailer hitch. Do get your gas cap release. Everything in this car is like pretty accessible, like the hood. Pretty much anyone can go into these things, it seems like. Even with the car locked, you can easily open the fuel door. This is the key for it, by the way. It's a pretty big key actually, and you also get like a switchblade in case you get like locked out or something. It is a little bit too big. That's just like a little complaint, but you do get remote start on the key. We'll try out these back seats here, and you can also fold the seats down if you like lift these tabs right here. Pretty easy to do, and they fold down like decently flat, as you can see. But yeah, we'll try out the back seat. All right, and back seat room is actually pretty good. I have enough leg room, enough foot space, a little bit better than I was expecting actually. These seats are pretty comfortable and I actually like it back here. You do get your power window controls right here. You also get 2 USBs and 2 USB-Cs. Pretty nice. So good interior amenities back here. You also get these interesting cup holders that are in like the rear headrest. But yeah, a bit of a narrow doorway right there, but not too bad. But we'll show you guys the engine. There's no hood latch or anything. Like I said, pretty much anyone could walk up to your Jeep Wrangler and get into the engine. You just undo those 2 latches, and there is a little hood latch under here. But here's the engine. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder. Hood prop is in an interesting spot. It's underneath the hood. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. Makes 270 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It's pretty peppy. It's a pretty lively powertrain. Moves this Jeep Wrangler out pretty well for just being a 4-cylinder. These are pretty heavy SUVs. They weigh around 5,800 pounds, but I'm actually quite impressed with this 4-cylinder. I'll talk about it more when we get this out on the road. But for right now, we'll just hop inside, close up this hood here. Better hope you do this right too, because you don't want the hood to fly open on you when you're driving. But all right, that looks pretty good. We will hop inside. The step in here can be a little bit weird, but you get used to it. It's pretty easy, honestly. But we'll start it up. It does have push to start. I'll start with the center screen. It's a pretty typical modern screen. It's pretty familiar if you're familiar with like Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep vehicles. You do get your climate controls in here, but you also get hard buttons for those, so this isn't really necessary. You do get your heated seat and your heated steering wheel, which is pretty nice. You can also adjust your mirror dimmer. You can check out your backup camera, and it's a pretty good backup camera, pretty clear resolution, nice big screen there. It's a pretty easy to use system. Everything is pretty much where you'd expect it to be. You do get your off-road pages in here. We'll see what that looks like as soon as it queues up. You can check out your steering angle, which is pretty interesting. You can check out your accessory gauges like your coolant temperature, oil temperature, transmission temperature. You can check out your pitch and roll. So I'm at 1 degree of roll and 0 degree pitch. That's kind of interesting. So yeah, I always love seeing these features in Jeep products. You do get a nav system in here. It looks decent, looks like your standard typical nav system. Screen is pretty responsive, very quick. Definitely like the response of it. This car has some really good modern tech for being what it is, you know, kind of an old style off-road SUV. You get some good tech features in here. You can also control your heated steering wheel and heated seats through these buttons right here. You get your climate controls like your temperature, your fan speed dial right here. You also get your volume and tune for the stereo. You also have auto start stop off. You have traction control off, hazard lights, parking sensors off. You also have a hill descent control, and you can turn your screen off with this button. You also get your power window controls in this spot. Kind of an interesting location for them, but because these doors are removable, I guess they decided to put it here instead. You do get a 12-volt outlet. You also get a USB, a USB-C, and an aux. And you get some off-road features down here. So you can lock your front and rear differential if you want, or you can lock your rear differential just to provide more traction off-road. You also can disconnect your sway bar. That's kind of interesting, you can do that. It provides more suspension travel if you're in like some really intense off-road situation. They don't recommend using this on-road. They say if you drive without your sway bar connected above like 18 miles an hour, you could lose control of the car. So it's probably not something you really want to play with on road, but you do get your auxiliary switches down here. So if you hook up like aftermarket lights or something, you can route it to these switches right here. Pretty interesting. You also get an off-road plus mode, I suppose. This enhances like the off-road traction and capability. You also get this really nice power soft top. Just to show you guys, it goes all the way back. Goes pretty much the entire roof just opens with a press of a button. I really like that feature. Yeah, you can see it goes all the way to the back seat. That is just really awesome to me. Maybe I'll drive around with this open at first just to show you guys how it is. On the steering wheel, you do get your adaptive cruise control, which is pretty nice to have. You also get your Bluetooth control. You can adjust various things in the center screen. You can check out your off-road information like your differentials and your sway bar connection. You can check out your fuel economy. Right now I'm averaging 14.9 miles per gallon with this turbo 4-cylinder. This doesn't get the best gas mileage, even despite having a 4-cylinder. It's still a very heavy, non-aerodynamic type of vehicle, so you don't really get the best gas mileage in here. You also get your volume and tune on the back of the steering wheel. You do get a glove box. It's pretty tiny actually. It's kind of an odd looking glove box right there, but you do get a center console that's actually really big, and you get another USB in there, it looks like. So yeah, lots of good amenities in here. You also get your shifter for the 8-speed automatic, and it has a cool little like old style Jeep logo on the front right there. You get a lot of those old Jeep logos in here, like on the windshield over there. I don't know if you can see that. Also like this red button on the back of it. As I said, you do get a pretty nice backup camera when you shift into reverse. You do get your 4-wheel drive controls. I don't really want to mess with this now because I'm only just driving it on road, but you get 2 high, you get 4 high, you get neutral and 4 low. You also get these nice leather seats. They're pretty plush to sit in. They say Rubicon on them. Oddly enough, they're not power seats. They are manual adjusting only. I suppose that's kind of like the ethos of this Jeep. Even though it is like the more luxurious trim, there's still some manual controls in here you'll find. But we'll get this thing out on the road, talk about how it drives here. All right, going over this gravel road, as you would expect, feels pretty competent. All right. All right. It's a pretty spry powertrain, honestly. It gets up and goes pretty well, and it's a pretty smooth turbo 4-cylinder. It's got a really smooth transmission to it as well. Pretty snappy and quick shifting automatic here. I really like this, the feel with this soft top opened. Kind of feel like you're really in nature with this thing. But I will close it though, just because I don't want any wind noise to interfere with the video. And it closes pretty easily, as you can see. But yeah, pretty lively powertrain, as I said. I like the vibe of this interior. It's actually pretty cozy. The windows, like the windshield feels like really small. And you feel like you're like in this like cave or something. This Jeep Wrangler is definitely a very unique experience compared to other cars you'll drive. You get pretty decent visibility out the front. All right, looks like we are good. All right. Yeah, it is pretty peppy. As I said, it's a pretty loud engine, to be honest. It doesn't sound the greatest, but it is a very spry, very lively powertrain. As you can probably hear, the road noise is pretty loud in this interior. You hear a lot of wind noise, a lot of engine noise, and a lot of tire noise. Pretty much any kind of noise you can think of, you definitely hear it when you're driving this. This steering wheel is quite sloppy. It's a little bit better than Wranglers of the past, like those really old ones, but it's still got that really like sloppy, like kind of Jeep feel to it. It doesn't really point in a straight line for very long. I will say that. I feel like this steering and suspension, it all kind of has a mind of its own to an extent. But yeah, as you can see, it's got good torque off the line at least. Transmission is like really snappy and quick shifting. This accelerator, it's got a pretty nice linear feel to it. These brakes, they're pretty good for a Jeep. You don't really have to like slam on them to stop. There is quite a long travel in the brakes, but you don't have to really like stand on them, I'll say. They're pretty smooth and pretty refined. About typical for like a modern car. The visibility in here could be a little bit better, I think. These side mirrors are pretty tiny. Like when you're driving on the highway, you do have to definitely make sure you check your blind spot. And this back window is a little bit hard to see out of too, just because you got that big tire in your window. So yeah, there are times when changing lanes, when things can definitely just feel a little bit iffy. I'm sure you get used to it, but if you're coming from like a more normal and like more rational type of car, it's definitely a bit of a learning curve. It is a pretty comfortable place to be. I mean, you do get decently nice materials in here. You get nice features too. It's not a bad car to drive in terms of like feature content and things like that. This ride can definitely be harsh. I notice I can definitely feel the bumps in this. It's not like it's like crazy, like harsh over bumps, but you definitely feel them when you go over them. And you just kind of get used to like constantly correcting the steering wheel when you're driving this. Like I said, it doesn't stay in a straight line very long, and you just kind of adapt to like always moving the wheel around. Like when I first drove this car, the steering felt so unpredictable. I felt like the car just had a complete mind of its own in terms of where it was going. But after a while, you do kind of get used to it. You kind of sense what the steering wheel is gonna do in certain situations. So yeah, like you do kind of adapt, as weird as it feels at first. It is a really tall Jeep, but I've noticed that this car can go around corners decently well for what it is. That's not to say like it's something you'd like take on a track or like purposefully drive fast in, but I've noticed in general, just like taking corners around town and stuff, taking exit ramps, things like that, Jeep Wrangler does a pretty good job around the turns. We'll pull into this neighborhood here and we'll check out our turning radius. All right. Just gonna cut the wheel all the way. And pretty sharp, as you can see. It's actually not a bad turning radius. So definitely good for like off-roading, things like that. All right. Try out this corner. It's not too bad, yeah. Yeah, for a Jeep Wrangler, that's pretty good. It is a little bit squirrely when you push it to the max, of course. You definitely feel like some sidewall lean in the tires and things like that. But Other than that, it's pretty good. The only thing I don't like about the handling is just the way the steering, it's so loose, doesn't really track straight for very long. Those are my main complaints, but the actual turning ability isn't too bad. And yeah, I do really like how this engine gets up to speed. Like, I'm not even pressing it that hard, and it's quite jumpy, actually. And you know, on smooth pavement, this ride is decent. It's definitely better than Jeeps of the past, like those really old 80s and 90s Jeeps. Those things rode like really harsh, but you know, this one, it's decently refined in comparison. You're not gonna get in this and think you're in like a Lexus RX or something, but it's daily drivable, I'll say. You just have to kind of get used to it, really. We're gonna take this car on the highway here. Alright, lots of wind noise, but it does get up to highway speeds pretty decently. Try out the passing ability. It does okay at speeds like this, but when you start approaching like 80, it can feel a little bit squirrely. But right now, like on a straight, regular highway like this, it's not too bad. The transmission does feel slightly hesitant to kick down, but it's pretty intuitive and predictable for the most part. Alright, we'll try our cloverleaf off ramp. Taking this corner pretty quick here. I was expecting worse, to be honest. For a Jeep Wrangler, that actually wasn't that bad. Alright, you guys, well, I think I'll end the video up here. ...2021 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. Definitely a serious SUV. You don't buy this for like having the greatest on-road performance. It's definitely got some pretty sloppy handling to it. Maybe not quite as bad as like classic Jeeps or even the last generation. I'd say this is still better than the last generation Jeep Wrangler, but it's still got pretty loose, pretty imprecise steering to it, pretty clumsy suspension. This engine is really peppy though. I do really like it. It doesn't sound great, but it's really smooth and really like has really good torque down low. Picks up speed like really fast, surprisingly. I like this interior too. I think the materials in here feel pretty solid. I like all the features you get. You get some serious off-road features. I also really love this soft top that goes all the way back. Definitely a pretty unique SUV. I mean, you see a lot of these, but you get a lot of unique features in here. You know, it's not like your typical SUV. Definitely a lot of cool features that set it apart from the rest. And for that, this Jeep Wrangler is very desirable, I think. But we'll shut it off and we'll hop out. All right, thanks for watching.